Hi guys, welcome to the Strim. We're about to party. Las Vegas, what are you doing in Las Vegas? Are you partying or are you living life? Tell your friends about the stream, guys. Tell them. Tell them all. Destroy the child. Destroy your feed. You're eating pasta that you just learned how to make. Uh-oh. What kind of pasta? My day was good. It was very uneventful. Asherella says, who saw Joker this weekend? I saw it. I saw Joker. Every one of y'all seen the Joker say, yeah. Yeah. It's a very good movie. Very, very good movie, and I think everyone should check it out. It's not, obviously not without its imperfections here and there, but it's definitely one of the best movies of the year, I believe. I would say the strongest character development that I've seen in a flick in quite some time. Listen to me reading at the same time, only kind of multitasking you can do. That's okay. That's good. I'm that way too. I always need something to listen to while I complete sort of minor tasks here and there. Yo boy Dirty Dan, what's good? People that walked out. I don't really know why people would walk out of seeing the Joker. There was legitimately nothing controversial about that movie, I would say, at all. Actually nothing. If you have existed or have seen a movie between the years of, I'm not even sure, 1920 to 2019 now, there's plenty of other movies that were far more controversial than that movie, and I honestly think most of the stuff, guys, I'm going to be honest with you, I think most of the stuff people say about movies when they try to build up controversy around it, I honestly feel like that's all just fake viral marketing. They do that on purpose to make you want to see it more. They say, the SJWs really didn't like this one. Hoo-dee-dee-dee, hoo-dee-dee-dee. When in reality, they just are saying that for the sheer fact to get you to go see it. Because, I don't know, it's some sort of, common existential character we create in our mind, the easily offended one. That's not me, or whatever. And, yeah, then you go and you see it, and it's literally no different than any other rated R movie, and you move on with your life. Lila, you want candy? You gotta come get it. That free candy. My voice is gonna be the candy tonight. Now is actually a great time to buy candy. Zach Baby TV is here. Everybody relax. Everybody be chill. He's here. Also, yeah, go smash that thumb ups button. That thumb ups. What's good from Murderville, Chicago? Be safe out there, fam. Fam jam. Don't put down people with hairy lips. I've got a hairy lip. I've got a very, very hairy face. Candy. Oh yeah, ear candy. There you go. That's what you're here for. I tricked you. I trick-or-treated you. I tricked you, and now you get the treat. With ear candy. Cheyenne Dory Bob with the first dono of the night with the $2 says, I made it. Where is my free candy? You know what it is. Melted chocolate coming through your ears. Ooh, yeah. My sports fan, I am. I was watching a lot of the football highlights of the NFL today. Just because it's, I don't know, when I was younger, I'd be like, I don't like the NFL and sports and stuff because it's for stupid people. Or, I wouldn't actually say that, but like, there was always sort of a pretentious side of me that just thought I was above that. But now, as I start to age, I kind of feel like those mindless senses of entertainment are actually pretty beneficial for me to experience a sense of escapism, to just sort of appreciate the peak of human physicality and a bunch of sweaty men smashing into each other. Sure, I understand the argument that it's certainly not the pinnacle of intellectualism, but sometimes you just gotta watch dudes smash heads, Michaela, that's a cool name. With $2 says, I listen to your vids while drawing in my comic. Oh, I want to see that comic. Is this like a kind of a side project of yours, or are you working towards like a professional situation? I'd love to see it. Only gonna stay for probably one story because you're a tired boy and y'all know the buttery voice send me to spooky slumber. Oh yeah, I'm gonna try to get you there before the end of story 1. We'll see how it goes. Jamie's excited about sweaty men smashing into one another. It is appealing. They should just change it from NFL to SMSIEO. Sweaty men smashing into each other. 2 dudes smash heads. Don't look that up on the internet. You'll find something weird. Electra Hart with the 2 says, I was promised candy. Where it at? Oh yeah. Like we said, I've got some Hershey's chocolate pouring out of my mouth right now, right into for your consumption. MMA. Oh yeah, I guess MMA would make more sense. Yeah, I feel like I respect MMA fighters to a certain degree compared to NFL players, though. You're certainly at a higher prevalence in both to sustain serious injuries. There's something about MMA where it's like the whole time you're taking direct shots to your cranium that I feel like certainly doesn't benefit people in the long run for any sort of long-term brain damage and stuff, such as our friend Muhammad Ali. Rest in peace. Evil Adam 23 with the 2 says, buy some candy for yourself. Well earned, I must say. Thank you, Adam. I forgot to purchase some, so I'm going to go out and get some for everybody in the stream to hand it out. I have to get at least 200 pieces because that's what we're about. That's what we're at about right now. I know we do the dad jokes in voice chat, but that's just ew. I don't even remember what dad joke was said because I got the best ones. The strongest dad jokes. The best dad jokes you've ever heard. Cheyenne Dory Bob with the 2 says, hockey is a lot more entertaining to watch. I've always really wanted to get into hockey. I didn't grow up watching it. And, obviously it's a pretty straightforward sport to a certain degree. And I learned a little bit about the rules from playing the game a little bit. I remember playing NHL Hits. Hits. That was a fun game, just smashing people through the glass, and you could have all those like custom teams that were like the mascots and stuff. And I would just spend hours like getting all the unlocks or putting in cheat codes and all sorts of crazy stuff. That was a good time. They should really bring back those games. You have 5 pounds of candy. Oh man. Yeah, I could eat a whole 5 pounds of Reese's right now. That's like my number one go-to. What's your guys' favorite candy? Asherella says full-size bars. 100 grands are your favorite. Interesting. I haven't really tried 100 grand. There's certain certain candies that like their marketing for it like hasn't changed since like 1908, you know? And so you just, when you're staring at it, it just kind of like looks as if though fresh out the factory it was made expired, you know what I mean? Certain different designs of the logo and stuff just makes it look old as hell. So I feel like candies really need to step up their graphic design department. Caitlin Frederick with the 2 says, what's your favorite horror game? Oh, that's a good one, honestly. I'm going to have to think about this. I mean, some things that come to mind with Outlast and obviously Amnesia. We have played through Dead Space. Dead Space definitely was one of the... Like, I was always pretty apprehensive towards horror games growing up just because they were pretty scary, and I didn't really like being scared. Some people who are sort of obsessed with that sensation of being scared, like it's a adrenaline rush, you know, on the after fact. I've never really been that way. It's definitely grown on me as I've kind of became part of this part of the spooky community. Almond Joys. Yeah, what is that? Coconut and almond. That's an interesting mixture. Fatal Frame. Jensen, what's up, dude? Where's your candy? What's your favorite candy, Jensen? What can I get for you? The Evil Within 2. Interesting. I did not play the sequel. I was recently talking to a friend about Evil Within 1 and kind of whether or not the whole like surrealism of it, like did it make you feel like it had specific rules, or did it just sort of use that surrealism to kind of like throw the plot wherever it felt necessary, you know? Stephanie George with the $5 says, what's your favorite type of music? I would say, I mean, I'm definitely pretty eclectic in that regard. Like right now we're listening to some chill hop stuff. Like, as you can hear, it's kind of got a good mixture of like hip hop and jazz. I love jazz. I love hip hop. I love electronic influences on stuff. I love experimental things. All sorts of different, you know, I mean, I listen to like the hardcore rap to work out, or even sort of like some heavy metal as well when you're lifting them heavy weights. But I'm definitely way down with the beats. Jensen, Twix. Yeah, Twix is the shit for sure. I remember there was always like a weird issue. I didn't know if anybody else had it when they were growing up, where you would have your bag of candy that you got from trick-or-treating, and I was never very organized with it, so after I'd eat like one piece of candy, I would throw the wrapper back into the bag. And it got to the point where I was like legitimately like siphoning through my candy just to find like a new piece of candy, because like everything for the most part was just like trash that I was, you know, moving my bare paws through. Jake, you are a gross boy. Triple chocolate Twix, dang. Dude, the Twix, I mean, you get the Twix Blizzards and stuff. It's so weird though, because like I think I've talked about Blizzards before, and Blizzards are honestly great. Blizzards are great, but there's like when you first start out, you always feel like you have a ton of stuff that you get when you're scooping into it. But then as you get about halfway down your XL Blizzard, like I always get, it starts to turn into just like melted sort of vanilla soft serve, and it sort of starts to scamper a little bit on like the actual goodies. And you can ask for extra stuff, but it doesn't usually seem to make much of a difference other than like the top layer. But it's funny how like with whenever they like come up and like dump, you know, turn your Blizzard upside down, like here's your Blizzard. Like I don't really know who thought of that and why that's something that they need to like demonstrate. You know what I mean? Like why is that important to anybody? Like someone walks up to you with your ice cream and they just flip it upside down, like, look, it doesn't fall out. It's got a bunch of weird gelatin preservatives in it. Aren't you impressed? But that would be funny. If like say you just gave birth to a baby and they come to bring you your baby, and you're like, here's your baby, and they like flip it upside down before they hand it to you. All of his blood goes right to his head. It's cool. Cheyenne Dory Bob with the 2 says, please check out Sleeping at Last and Borns. Are those movie flicks or are those video games? Deshay says, Incident in a Ghost Land, Honeymoon, Another Evil, The Awakening, The Taking of Deborah Logan, We Go On, Ruin Me, The Body, Hell House, LLC Trilogy, Monster Party. Oh, these are all flicks. Brainy Quick, can I upload more? Honestly, uploading more than 3 videos a week that are all like an hour-long podcasts, like, it's hard to keep up with, I mean, like, I do it, and obviously you guys see my whole recording process here during the streams, but if I had to do another one, like, I would have, like, no free time, because, pretty much most of my time is spent doing all that good stuff, but I appreciate your enthusiasm for the content. Let's share favorite childhood memories that are mundane things to do. For example, rubbing your eyes hard to see flashing, glowing things. Yeah, it's funny, like little things you learn and you just feel like they're superpowers almost, like whenever I would be in the shower and I would put my arm down and the water would run down like one side on like the back end of my hand, and it would like kind of like shoot out in a stream, and it made it look like I had like legitimate Spider-Man powers. And I actually, for like at least 30 seconds, like could not wrap my head around the fact that every time I made a Spider-Man hand, like the water was shooting out. So I thought, maybe this is my reality now. Instead of getting bit by a radioactive spider, I just took a radioactive shower, and now I have water shooting abilities. If you're putting your ass against the wall in the shower and fart so it's louder than usual. I never tried it. I'm going to have to try it now. It's, I thought I've seen it all, honestly, in my 29 years on Earth, and this is my next step. This is my sort of ascension moment. I think that's kind of what Jesus went through when he turned 30 and he began his ministry. He, probably was taking a bath and just let out a really, really stinky fart that resonated throughout his bathroom. His parents were like, what the fuck was that? And he's like, I am God. I am God. Lils with the 5X says, love your live stream. Thank you, Lils. Good to see you back. Good to see you back. Thanks for being here, guys. Really appreciate it. We're 20 seconds to read time, and we've got over almost 300 people in here right now. How did I become this career? Well, 'twas not easy, Ethan. 'Twas not easy. And as you know in life, nothing is guaranteed either. But basically, I just gave it a shot. Started making videos. And my roommates, who did YouTube and stuff, Jesus Farts should be a taco food truck name. Jesus Farts, yeah. But yeah, so like my roommates helped me out a lot with how to make videos and that kind of thing, and how to edit using Sony Vegas and Photoshop, and how to use my equipment and all that kind of stuff. And I just kind of decided that I would do reading because I didn't think anybody really did that. And then I stumbled across the creepypasta community, and I was like, well, I kind of want to be successful in here, so I'm gonna have to follow these trends, you know what I mean? And so I jumped on the creepypasta community and I just came to love it, I totally didn't expect it. And then True Scary Stories started taking off, and it felt like a lot more of a simplistic approach to things, in the way that, and a lot of people were more into it because I was able to sort of interact with you guys, and the fact that I could create my own subreddit for submitting stories and that sort of thing. And the channel was just growing all the while. I was working as a nurse with my normal jorb. And then eventually I said, screw it, I'm gonna make this my jorb. And now it's my jorb. Hey, Caitlin Frederick. See, I can never tell if that's like a new member or if whenever people's like memberships from a month renew, if it still says like new members. But she's a full-grown pizza, guys. You're about to hear it. Mr. Gooley says, hey, can you reach out for a collab if you're interested? Yeah, possibly. Like, I don't want to, like, you know, people sometimes kind of get on me about doing collabs because, like, it sort of takes away from, the video. That if they're specifically subscribed to hear me, you know, one of the main comments you hear a lot of times is, I subscribe to hear you, not blah, blah, blah. And I understand that. I understand where people are coming from that because, you know. But one thing I've been wanting to do for subscriber stories is to, since that's kind of more of like a community-driven thing, I kind of was thinking it would be neat to include at least just one story from someone who wants to collab at the end, so people could make their way through like 9 stories. What's the little popping noise? Oh yeah, that's this song. It's probably like the most pronounced frequency that you're hearing right now, but we're going to kick off into Iron Cthulhu Apocalypse anyways to make things nice and spooky. Yeah, the clicking is like the snapping in the song, like it's like a sort of an abnormal beat. But let's switch over to our reading stuff. Our background done by the amazing Robin Mikalsen. I was an idiot, and I totally didn't send Robin the audio for the Jill Dando documentary that we're doing. So I was under the interpretation that like we were working towards that, and I hadn't even sent that over. So I just sent that over to Robin today. Not trying to, you know, rush anything because I know that honestly his work is amazing, and that's something that I want, you know, obviously something special. So I'm pretty stoked to see how that turns out and all that good stuff. I hope if you were a fan of the Mary Celeste, I think this one will be more in the wheelhouse of horror, not so much historical. But obviously it is a historical sort of event, but more along the lines of true crime. So I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. But we'll see how things progress with that. Hopefully we can get it out by the end of the month around Halloween. That would be a pretty... Let's see, what day does Halloween fall on? So Halloween's on a Thursday. That'd be neat to get it done by the 30th, but I don't want to make any promises because obviously that's not me. Yeah, it is a sad story though, for sure. Yeah, the dead astronaut does hate the pumpkins. He hates them so much he's giving them faces. And Dory Bob with the 2 says your maker said he's hoping to collab with you. Oh, okay. Is he streaming, or were you just chatting with him or something like that? Because I mean, I've collabed with your maker many a time in the past, so I'm always down for that. I did a collab with Crypt TV recently. I'm gonna sneeze. I did a collab with Crypt TV recently, so that's actually on their channel. It's Woe Bones. It's about a new student in town and you know, some bullies and all that good stuff. So you should check that out if you haven't subscribed to Crypt TV. They're pretty huge now because they actually did a full-on, you know, full-blown sort of advertising campaign amidst this whole community, paying people a lot of money to kind of get their videos out there and all that kind of stuff, which I admire because that takes a lot of coordination and obviously the funds to do so. So that is cool. Do a collab with Skin Locust. Yeah, so, you know, get the word out there if you are friends with some of these narrators, or if there's narrators listening, like, on my subscriber story videos, I want the last story of that one, of the 10 stories that are usually on there, or however many will be, I want the last story to be one story from a narrator other than myself. And I think that would be a good way, because I'm pretty sure you can decide whether or not you want to subscribe to another narrator just by listening to 2 to 5 minutes of their voice. I'm sure it probably only takes 10 seconds for some people to hear someone's voice to be like, yep, I want to fall asleep to his sultry sounds, his or hers. But so let them know, hit them up, and if you are an up-and-coming narrator, hit me up. I'll take a look at your stuff, and obviously, I put it through a very brief vetting process, and if there's someone that you're looking for, I don't think I'm necessarily going to go out of my way to find people, but you get the vibe. You get that vibe, yeah? Do a collab with Mr. Nightmare. That would be so dope, like, if he ever were to, like, reach out to people and just, on some of his videos, like, normally he does 3 stories, say he does 4, and includes certain narrators. Because imagine how much that would grow the narration community, because the difference between, like, people, it's so interesting, because, like, the difference between, like, him and other narrators here down on the bottom rung, like, he is getting, like, millions of views on his video, millions of subs, and that kind of thing. And it's just like, if, like I said before, like, if we're on the moon, he's off in another solar system. It's crazy. So it would be nice to kind of spread the love to a certain degree, but I understand also from the sort of competitive nature, it's probably not the best to kind of give your competition a voice, but I don't know. People will figure it out. Samantha says, I DM'd you on Twitter for a background of yours. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I wasn't sure what, because it was kind of like some, I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do yet for background, but I appreciate you submitting that. That was pretty, I mean, if anything, that's cool decorations you got going on there. That's sweet. And welcome, a full-grown pizza, Hands Up Roberts. Thank you. For becoming a full-grown pizza. Leash is only a fan of my voice, P. Busta, and the Paranormal Scholar. Vixa with the 2 says, do you have any advice for new narrators? Honestly, like, just try to find ways to maximize your audio quality the best you can. My advice, one really, really easy and free way to do that, is basically use Audacity. You record, 10 seconds of silence, which is basically going to pick up like 10 seconds of background noise in your room and that kind of thing, or wherever you're recording. And then you can use like a sound profile, like just highlight like that silence, create a sound profile, and then remove that sound profile from the rest of the audio. And then essentially it just completely removes the background noise in a video, in the audio, and then you can export that as the new audio, and it sounds just so much more crisp. You know what I mean? Very easy, very simple to figure out. If you have any questions, you can just DM me about that. I can walk you through it, but yeah, Audacity is free, and you don't have to go insane, with equipment right out the gate, but there are little things that you can do to make your stuff sound professional without insanely professional, expensive gear and that kind of thing. Philip Saul with the 2 says, collab with Lazy Masquerade. Yeah, I have collabed with Lazy a few times. Definitely anybody who's a name you probably have heard in over 100,000 mark or something like that. I've definitely probably collabed with them at some point. Lazy is a good friend of mine, because I felt bad for him because he was hit with the demonetization situation like many of us narrators have. His specific scenario, whereas mine was related to something called duplication, which was, very early on figured out to be a glitch, and with the help of you amazing people, I was able to get the attention of YouTube to reverse that. His was something to do with misleading thumbnails, which, it's once again an artificial intelligence AI mistake, and they weren't really and the stupidest thing is that once you get kicked out of the YouTube Partner Program for some sort of arbitrary violation, you have very limited capabilities of communicating with YouTube to get that reinstated. For me, I was able to use the live chat that they had to kind of get things kicked off, at least the investigation. But Lazy had to do at least 3 different, majorly retweeted tweets or whatever to get the attention of Team YouTube, which fortunate they were able to take a look at it and reinstate things, and they were good to go. But it was just such a lack of forethought, on YouTube's end to utilize an artificial intelligence to sort of demonetize somebody, but then completely remove all of their abilities to, have a open discussion with a human being to let them know that this was a mistake. Like, then you have to go through an external source of Twitter, you know what I mean? It's like, Twitter's not YouTube, So, and even the ability to even for his ability to email, creator support was removed. So it was just like, okay, no live chat, no creator support. What the F am I supposed to do here? And so fortunately I was able to get that back, thank God, because that's, completely kills your, if that's your career, which, I know Lazy is pursuing other things within academia and that kind of thing, but at the same time, if other people, this is their full-time gig. Donald Toman with the 5 says, recently discovered your channel. Been binging your stories. I work late nights and walk home. You make my walks extra creepy. Love it. Keep it up. Thank you, Donald. Yeah, that would, honestly, creepy stuff while out in the dark it's almost too creepy for myself. Evelyn Hunter with the 2 says, first time doing this, showing my age here. No, that's okay. Welcome. Never too late to jump in a live stream. Cheyenne Dory Bob with the 5. Thank you, Cheyenne. You're going ham tonight. It says, your maker said he was going to hit you and Mr. Nightmare up for a collab. Corpse Husband, if he wasn't sure because of his health, he streamed yesterday. Nice. Yeah. Corpse has come back with 2 strong videos for the month of October, which is perfect because he's going to, that is awesome. It's animated. I believe 2 stories are animated and some other stuff, so you guys should definitely check that out. I love animations, and I'm stoked that Corpse Husband is back doing his deal. And yeah, your maker, hit me up, my homie G. We can read together. All right, guys, I've been gabbing quite a bit here. I suppose you guys are ready for me to read some spooky dooky stories. And I want to welcome back Gothic Rose as a member. She's been a member here. Doesn't if you watch Twitch, you probably have seen people say like, "Thanks for the 14 months," Pookie Buggy 76 or whatever, and it kind of just shows me kind of the non-specific re-upment of membership here, but is Gothic here tonight? Usually she's pretty consistent with the modding, but I guess it is a Sunday and it's kind of late, so everybody's got to work. But let us spray. Mr. Paperman, thank you. Halloween used to be my favorite time of the year. I was kind of a horror freak. I loved horror novels, movies, and games. I spent hours absorbing all the YouTube creepypasta stories I could find. But that all changed one Halloween night when myself, a few friends found... Oh yeah, someone's got to be in charge of mistakes. Mistake number 1. But that all changed one Halloween night when myself and a few friends found something that would change our lives forever. This is the story of the Dead House. I always did love that era of chaos that presents on Halloween night. That twisted, festive feeling that adds a spark of excitement to an otherwise dark and dreary time of the year. We were too old to be trick-or-treating, but we still wanted to wander the streets and soak up the atmosphere. Besides, there's a lot you can get away with in a costume. especially when you pour a bottle of light beer into Mountain Dew bottles and label it spooky juice. Oops. Besides, there's a lot you can get away with in costume, especially when you pour your bottle of adult beverage into a Mountain Dew bottle and label it spooky juice. Our buddy Spike had comprehensively won our internal costume contest with his own homemade proton pack and Ghostbusters jumpsuit. He'd spent weeks on it, watching little YouTube painting tutorials and been watching bins fill up. While you're listening, you're wondering if Black Widow spider eggs are hatching near me. Oh God, is that something that's occurring? Yikes. Poopy juice. Jake, do you drink poopy juice? He'd spent weeks on it, watching little YouTube painting tutorials and binge watching the movies. Oh, the movies. Okay. He'd spent weeks on it, watching little YouTube painting tutorials and binge watching the movies for minor details. It looked amazing, and he wasn't about to miss out on the opportunity to show the thing off. So off we went, wandering around the neighborhood and eating store-bought candy. Since we were way too old to be trick-or-treating, part of the fun of these Halloween walkabouts was seeing the spectacular ways that fellow Halloween enthusiasts had decorated their houses. Over the years, it became something of a competition, and each year the decorations became more and more elaborate. I remember one family had gone as far as digging a small pit in their front lawn. They put some red lights in there, then covered the thing over with wooden boards that were complete with fake zombie fingers reaching out between the slats. It looked amazing, and we found ourselves joining a gaggle of parents and taking selfies with the chillingly original decoration. We saw some pretty impressive stuff that evening, from fake bodies hanging from trees to chained-up dogs that had been dressed up as adorable little hounds. But nothing caught our attention like the house at the end of Bachman Street. So, a lot of... Oops. Whoops. So a lot of you have heard of these hell houses that crop up around Halloween every year. The most infamous being these guerrilla operations where people can make a few bucks while indulging in a little of the Halloween spirit. So when you saw the house at the end of Bachman Street with its doors wide open, we figured it was just part of the display. A couple was heading away from the house looking pretty scared, so we asked them what the deal was with the front door being left open. "Oh man, they really went all out this year," one of the pair said. "It's so realistic in there. We left a few dollars on the table as a thank you. There's no tip jar anywhere, so you guys gotta see it though." On that, we agreed. Something that was actually scary, right here in our own neighborhood? We had to see it. We studied the house intently as we wandered down the street towards it. The facade was barely decorated compared to the others we'd seen. Just a carved pumpkin and a few plastic hanging skeletons were all we could see on approach. But there was something odd about the way the cars were parked in the driveway, something weirdly chaotic. Anyway, we wander up to the front door, peering inside before entering. But again, there doesn't seem to be any extensive decoration on the inside either. That all changes once we enter the kitchen. One of the dining chairs was dripping with gore. Ropes around the armrests hanging freely as they'd been cut away from someone's arms. Laid on the table nearby were all kinds of bloody kitchen utensils, some still clogged with shredded flesh. Flies buzzed around us, landing on the body and various bloodstains around the room. "Wow," one of us said softly. "You can see where they use corn syrup to make the blood. Houseflies love that stuff." "Then how did they get that kind of stink up in there?" another asked. But we didn't put too much thought into it. We were so overwhelmed and impressed that we just carried on moving through the house. The living room was somehow even more disturbing than the kitchen. Sat on a small, dark wood coffee table was a kind of homemade doll. It was a cluster of roots and twigs, all bound and woven together with reeds and dry grass. The face of the thing was made of clay, a single shiny stone pushed into it, resembling a kind of cyclopean eye. Arranged around it in a perfect circle were severed fingers, toes, and plucked out eyes. There was also a cluster of dollar bills from the couple's recent visit. I took out my wallet, taking out a few old singles before asking around to see if my buddies had anything to leave as a kind of thank you. There must have been about $14 in ones, and if my buddies had anything to leave... oh, whoops, I read that paragraph twice. Hey, Kiyazoku with the 5 says, good evening. Have you ever submitted a creepypasta or true personal encounter into the Ethernet? I have not, I don't think. Honestly, like, my creative faculties have been kind of exhausted focusing on primarily the channel, so that, like, whenever I get free time, like, most of the time I'm just kind of eating food or watching something or playing games and stuff. So I have not taken the time to really write in quite a while, which kind of stinks, but maybe that'll change here. Maybe I'll get inspired to put something to paper at one point, because that would be fun. There must have been about $14 in ones and twos in my hand by the time I let it drop onto the coffee table. Oh, come on. Let's see the upstairs, then get out of here. This place is giving me the creeps, I said. My buddies wouldn't let me hear the end of it. Scared by a family-run hellhouse. What an idiot. But when we saw the kids' bedroom, they were scared too. Inside, sitting among a carpet of stuffies and kids' toys, was a man. At first, all we could see was the back of him. He had long, thin gray hair and had somehow fit himself into a little girl's pink, frilly nightgown. We all froze in the doorway, staring wide-eyed as the creepy-looking old guy just sat there, playing with the toys, putting on little childish voices as he played at making them talk to one another. It was one of the most disturbing things I'd ever seen in my entire life. Whoever had thought that character up must have had one seriously disturbed imagination. The man turned still as a statue for a moment, sending our presence behind... Sending, I think sensing is what they meant to say. We want to squat up. What are we, Foca Warrior, what are we squatting up to do? Billy's stalking outside my window. Uh-oh. Well, come on in. Who am I dressing up as Halloween? I actually have not thought about it yet. I have not been to a good Halloween festivity in quite some time, and kind of sad to say that. Didn't even think about it, but I've got time. Dillweed, you don't get notifications when you're streaming. Yeah, it's annoying. I don't know if you got to really hit that notification bell or what, but YouTube's pretty picky with that, so be sure to hit the thumbs up and share this out if you guys can. That definitely helps a little bit, you know. The man turned still as a statue for a moment, sensing our presence behind him. When we turned, we saw his milky white eyes and blackening teeth, and ran for the door. We weren't exactly terrified, but we were still spooked and laughing nervously to ourselves as we bounded back into the street outside. But as we began to walk back out of the cul-de-sac road, blue and red lights began to flash before our eyes. It was the cops, screaming down past us down the street before rushing into the house we'd just left. There was nothing remotely fake about that house. The old man was an escaped psychiatric patient who had lived in the house as a child. The newspapers said he busted out of the institution he was being held in before he walked 30 miles into town back to his childhood home. He must have thought the people living there were intruders. At knife point, he tied them up and tortured them till we finished them. We never found out what happened to the kids inside the house, and quite frankly, I'm not sure I could handle it. Yikes. I've never heard of a hell house before. Is that something that people do for Halloween, where you just open your house to the public to come go through it like a sort of haunted house situation? That'd be hilarious if they hired cops to come really give the full effect. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Actually, first, lube the lips. Always a must. Rangatang says, every Monday when I'm at work, you do a live, and this honestly just completes my day. Timing is great. Nice. Must be pretty early for you over there, I guess. Go big or go home. Timothy O'Brien lived with his family in Deer Park, Texas, with his parents and little sister. His father, Ronald O'Brien, worked as an optician at Texas State Optical in Sharpston, Houston. He was the deacon at the Second Baptist Church, where he also sang in the choir. He was a trusted member of the community, being placed in charge of the local He was a trusted member of the community, being placed in charge of the local bus program. On Halloween night of 1974, O'Brien took Timothy and his sister trick-or-treating in Pasadena, Texas. On Halloween night of 1974, O'Brien took Timothy and his sister trick-or-treating in Pasadena, Texas. I'm forgetting the A, sorry. On Halloween night of 1974, O'Brien took Timothy and his sister trick-or-treating in a Pasadena, Texas neighborhood, along with his neighbor and their 2 children. When the group knocked at a house, but the occupants failed to answer, the children grew frustrated and When the group knocked at the house, but the occupants... I don't know why, I'm just like... My throat's like filled up with... mute juice. Muting goo, keeping me from speaking appropriately. When the group knocked at a house, but the occupants failed to answer, the children grew frustrated and skipped ahead to the next home in search of candy. When O'Brien caught up with them, they showed him 5 21-inch pixie sticks they had been given. When they returned home later in the evening, the young Timothy asked if he could eat one of the candy he and his friends had collected, opting for the huge pixie sticks. He had prized so dearly. The young boy had trouble getting the powdered candy out of the plastic straw that contained it, so his father helped him loosen the sugary powder before offering him. What the hell? So his father helped him loosen the sugary powder before offering it to him. When he ate it, Timothy remarked that the candy had a bitter flavor, so his father fetched him a glass of Kool-Aid to wash away the unpleasant taste. But this was followed by Timothy complaining that his stomach hurt. Ronald took his son to the bathroom, where he immediately began to violently vomit. But the discomfort did not ease, and soon the young boy was shaking and convulsing after collapsing to the bathroom floor. Ronald held his son close, but he soon went limp in his arms. Timothy O'Brien died on his way to a nearby hospital, just less than an hour after consuming the candy. Timothy's autopsy revealed that the pixie stick he consumed was laced with a fatal dose of potassium cyanide. There was enough cyanide in his system to kill 3 to 4 fully grown adults. Timothy's death from the apparent poisoned Halloween candy prompted intense fear and paranoia in the local community. Numerous parents in Deer Park and the surrounding area promptly returned all of the candy their children acquired from trick-or-treating to the police, for fear it was laced with the same deadly poison. During police interviews, Ronald O'Brien claimed that he could not remember exactly which house gave the children the pixie stick. However, the group of adults and children had only visited 2 streets worth of homes due to heavy rain that had begun to fall that evening. This narrowed down the search considerably. Houses were searched, recent receipts seized as evidence. Yet suspicions were raised when it was discovered that none of the homes the group visited were giving out pixie sticks. Police accompanied Ronald O'Brien through the neighborhood and questioned several times. Each time, he led them to the home that the group had visited, but those occupants did not answer the door. There, Ronald claimed they had in fact revisited the house before he caught up with the Wait, what? Sorry, I'm confused. There, Ronald claimed that Ronald claimed that had in fact revisited the house before he caught up with the children. Oh, okay. There, Ronald claimed that he in fact had I don't really get this sentence at all. I'm trying to rework it, but I can't. There, Ronald claimed that he had in fact revisited the house before he caught up with the children. He claimed the owner had cracked the door open, that he inside of the house was... What the hell? That he inside the house was dark and a hairy scar... Oh, what the fuck? Sorry, it's just weirdly worded for some reason in my brain. He claimed that the owner had cracked the door open, that he inside of the house was dark, and a hairy, scarred arm reached out and handed him all 5 of the 21-inch pixie sticks. Police discovered the homeowner in question was a man by the name of Courtney Melvin. Melvin was employed as an air traffic controller at nearby Hobby Airport and asserted under questioning that he did not get home from work until 11 p.m. on the night of the 31st. When nearly 200 witnesses confirmed this, Courtney Melvin was rolled out as a potential suspect. But as their investigation continued, police made a shocking discovery that turned all theories upside down. It was learned that Ronald O'Brien was actually more than $100,000 in... Damn, my voice keeps cracking. This is so annoying. Clickety-clack, baby. Alright, I don't know. So weird. I don't know if it's phlegm or what it is, interfering with, as I'm talking, all of a sudden, something will get in the way and throw me off my chi. My chi, dude. Alright, so... This guy's got $100,000 in debt. It was learned that Ronald O'Brien was actually more than $100,000 in debt after a history of being unable to hold down a steady-paying job. In the 10 years previous to the death of his son, Ronald had held a grand total of 21 jobs. During interviews with his current employers, police were told by Ronald's bosses that he was suspected of workplace theft from Texas State Optical and was dangerously close to being fired. His car was on the verge of being repossessed. He had defaulted on several bank loans, which had in turn led to the family home being foreclosed on. Although he presented himself as the clean-cut pastor, Ronald's life was a mess of lies and deceit. It was discovered that Ronald O'Brien had taken out life insurance policies on his children in the months preceding the poisoning. One $10,000 policy with two additional $20,000 policies on both children. This was in spite of the advice given by the insurance agencies not to do so. When asked, Daneen O'Brien, the mother of Daneen, it's a weird name. Oh, Daneen, maybe it's Daneen. When asked, Daneen O'Brien, the mother of Timothy and Ronald's wife, claimed she was completely unaware of any insurance policies on her children's lives. The final clue came when police learned that Ronald O'Brien had stopped by a chemical supply store in Houston and asked to purchase cyanide. However, he left empty-handed when he learned the smallest amount purchasable was 5 pounds. Despite repeatedly protesting his own innocence, O'Brien was now a suspect. Despite repeatedly protesting his own innocence, O'Brien was now a major suspect. Texas police never did find out just where or when Ronald O'Brien had bought the cyanide that he used on his son. But regardless, on November 5th, 1974, he was arrested for I'm going to have to say the word murder, but I feel like it's going to... whatever. But regardless, on November 5th, 1974, he was arrested for Timothy's murder. Ronald was charged with 1 count of capital murder and 4 counts of attempted murder, given that the other children were in extreme danger of consuming the poison intended for Timothy. He entered a plea of not guilty to all 5 counts. During the trial, a chemist who was familiar with O'Brien claimed that he had contacted him the previous summer regarding lethal dosages of cyanide. Another chemist took the stand testifying that Ronald had asked him how he could go about purchasing the deadly chemical. Additionally, Ronald's friends and coworkers also said that in the months preceding Timothy's death, Ronald had shown an unusual interest in cyanide and spoke about how much it would take to end a person's life. Those that attended Timothy's funeral told the court how Ronald had casually talked of taking a long vacation, only possible through the money accrued from Timothy's life insurance policies. O'Brien continued to maintain his innocence throughout the trial. Bizarrely, his defense hinged on the decades-old urban legend of the Mad Poisoner, who was purported to hand out Halloween candy laced with needles, broken glass, razor blades, or poison. Despite absolutely no documentation of such malice, these stories have persisted among those with a rich imagination. On June 3, 1975, a jury took just 46 minutes to find O'Brien guilty of capital murder. The jury then took just over an hour to sentence him to death. Shortly after he was convicted, his wife filed for divorce. She later remarried, and her new husband adopted their surviving daughter, Elizabeth. The case and subsequent trial garnered national attention, and the press gave Ronald O'Brien a nickname I'm sure you'll all be familiar with: the Candyman. Axeman, what's good, brother, dog man, brother? Patriots are looking pretty good, you stinking son of a stink. Alright, guys, sorry, I've been ignoring chat here, because I don't know why I've been, my voice has been crickety-cracking, and it's throwing me off my chi. It's throwing off my, my waves, bro. It's, kind of, upsettling my, spa pool, you know what I mean? Oh, ho, 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 ho. Natalia, what's going on? The Candyman. I've never seen The Candyman. I heard that was a pretty good horror movie, actually. Have you guys seen it? Oh, Axeman, you're not a fan. That's okay. I was just thinking, though, it must be nice being a Patriots fan, just knowing that literally every year, under the tutelage of Tom Brady and their head coach. They've just been such an unstoppable force. And even if they play poorly in the second half or the first half, you know they're going to figure something out to efficiently take back the second half and potentially stomp them. Here's Johnny. Thanks, dude. Was that a bong hit? 'Twas not. 'Twas not a bong hit. Not really legal in my area. Candyman. Heather, you love Candyman? Nice. I'm going to have to watch it. That would be a good one to check out. In the early afternoon of Halloween 2010, Ohio resident Devin Griffin was returning home after a brisk Sunday morning of singing in his local church's choir. He never missed a Sunday service, and this All Hallows Eve would be no exception. After walking through the front door of his family home, the 16-year-old trudged up to his bedroom to relax and play video games. It was something of a routine for him. Getting up early on a Sunday meant a guilt-free afternoon of online gaming with his friends. Also, the nice thing about being a New Englander is that, like, the Pats kind of cover that wide, broad spectrum of states, so it's like everybody gets to be a fan up there, you know what I mean? Whereas, depending on where you rest of you are in the United States, it's like hard to, you kind of like stuck with who you have around you. Not necessarily stuck, but you don't, like, if you're a Cowboys fan in Pennsylvania, people, especially Phillies and Pittsburgh fans, will be like, what the hell? What's your goddamn problem, you son of a bitch? Liking a team that's different? Natalia with the 10 says, whoop, Candyman, 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 Candyman. That is sad as fuck, though. Killing your kid with cyanide. Jesus Christ. What the fuck? It was something of a routine for him. Getting up early on a Sunday meant a guilt-free afternoon of online gaming with his friends. After a few hours of gaming, Devin took a quick break to grab a snack, but began to notice something unusual about the household. It was just past 1:30 in the afternoon when Devin started to wonder where his family was. His mother, Susan Lisk, worked night shifts, so it wasn't entirely unusual for her to sleep late into the morning. But never did she stay in bed until the early afternoon. Out of curiosity, Devin wandered downstairs from his attic room and knocked on the door of the family's home's master bedroom. There was no answer, but that didn't stop him. Devin opened the door to see his mother lying in bed next to his stepfather, William Lisk Sr. A maroon comforter was pulled over their heads. In a soft voice, Devin began to ask if they were planning on getting out of bed anytime soon. Again, there was no response. He walked around to her side of the bed and saw his mother's foot jutting out from underneath the goose-down duvet. Is it duvet? Let me look this up right now. Duvet. Hello, it's me, Duvet.
Duvet.
A soft quilt filled with down, feathers, or a synthetic fiber used instead of an upper sheet and blankets.
Interesting.
He walked around to her side of the bed and saw his mother's foot jutting out from underneath the goose-down duvet. He tapped on it. Again, no response. As Devin continued to talk, he instinctually pulled down the covers a little. It was her pillow. It was soaked with blood. For a moment or two, Devin could not compute what he was seeing. He later told detectives that he thought it was just some Halloween prank, albeit one done in extremely bad taste. But as he continued to look, he saw the large wound in her neck, dark clots of blood forming around it. Devin ran screaming from the house, frantically begging neighbors to summon emergency medical services. Upon his arrival, Ottawa County Sheriff Bob Bratton said 53-year-old William Lisk, his 46-year-old wife Susan Lisk, as well as her 23-year-old son Derek Griffin, were all found murdered. A preliminary coroner's exam had indicated that their deaths were caused either by gunshot or a blunt object. A suspect identified as 24-year-old William Lisk Jr., thought to be the son of the murdered father from his previous marriage, was arrested almost 200 miles away and was initially charged with only one count of murder in the first degree. After receiving a tip that the suspect killer would be hiding out in a log cabin owned by a distant family member, Deputy Michael Balash was ordered to pay the cabin a visit. Upon his arrival, the deputy spotted a white Ford pickup truck, matching the description given of the vehicle Lisk Jr. would be driving. When he approached the man's residence, it's reported that after Lisk Jr. casually walked out of the brown single-story cabin, still smoking a cigarette as he leaned against a porch post. Deputy Balash then pulled in with gun drawn, took Lisk to the ground and held him at gunpoint until backup arrived to assist with handcuffing the suspect. Carroll County Sheriff Dale Williams said that evidence was found on the suspect that also indicated that he was guilty of killing his stepmother and stepbrother. But to those that knew William Lisk Jr., the murders hardly came as a surprise. As early as 2002, his father Bill had called law enforcement on more than one occasion because the then 16-year-old had threatened to harm himself. The boy was on house arrest at the time for other offenses. According to police records, Lisk Jr. proceeded to attack the responding officers when they arrived, and later faced charges in juvenile court of assault on a peaceful officer. Then, in October 2004, Lisk Jr. got into a violent altercation with his stepmother and struck her hard into the chest. 2 months later, police charged him with felonious assault and robbery for allegedly hitting his stepmother Susan with a coffee cup before stealing her car keys. He was found incompetent to stand trial on those charges, which were eventually dropped. Lisk Jr. had at least 3 more encounters with the police after he moved to a group home for mental health patients. Among those incidents was a physical fight between Lisk Jr. and his father after Bill Lisk drove to the group home to pick him up. To the immediate aftermath, oopsie daisies. No pants party, what the heck? Where's everybody's pants? He got some crown. Jim, you're wearing a crown? What the? That's kind of sweet. Brad says, I want to be a Pop-Tart. I just lick myself all day and maybe take a bite or two. Slowly nibble at yourself for the remainder of time. That doesn't sound terrible. What if you were sitting on a subway train and some homeless guy was just feasting on your bottom? What would you do? What would you do? A pop fart. I just dropped. You're gonna make me drop my croissant. I just dropped my croissant. In the immediate aftermath, police struggled to establish a clear motive for the killings. It was clear from the records that Lisk Jr. had repeated run-ins with law enforcement that included jail time and mental health treatment. But what exactly drove the young man to commit such an act of senseless cruelty and malice to his own parents? In the course of the investigation, it came to light that Susan Lisk had filed a police report against her stepson, claiming that he had assaulted her. The report was filed less than a month before her murder. It is entirely possible that this had been the final straw for Lisk Jr.'s father. His past behavior and drug use had been antisocial to say the least, but William Sr. had fought time and time again to prevent his son becoming trapped in a cycle of addiction and incarceration. However, the assault... However, to assault his own stepmother was without a doubt a bridge too far. In court, Lisk Jr. admitted he was guilty of all 3 counts of murder in the first degree. A judge then quickly sentenced him to serve 3 life sentences with no chance of parole. Without shedding a tear, List told a courtroom filled with those who knew and loved his father, stepmother, and stepbrother that he could not explain why he brutally murdered them on that fateful Halloween. I love my dad very much, and it makes me feel sick every time I think about what I did, List said. I can't really explain why this all had to happen, but I think most of all of it had to do with my mental illness. List Jr.'s defense attorney said it was ridiculous that his client could be declared List Jr.'s defense attorney said it was ridiculous that his client could be declared legally sane. Oh, okay, yeah. List Jr.'s defense attorney said it was ridiculous that his client could be declared legally sane, especially when he had a history of poor mental health. He said it's unknown whether Lisk was taking the medication that was prescribed for his schizoaffective disorder on the night of the murders, although he had been drinking alcohol. Clearly, he should have not been provided alcohol, something that was a constant problem in his life. The mixture of alcohol and his mental illness. List Jr.'s sister, Lisa Curl, told the court that her family's lives had been changed forever. We just don't understand how something like this could happen. You see stuff like this on TV and think it will never happen to your family. You love someone so much and then they take something away from you. I just don't know how you could do it when he loved you so much. On March 31st of 2015, William Lisk Jr. was found dead in his cell at Ross Correctional Institution. Oh, fuck, how do you say this place? Chillicothe, Chili Dog Time, Ohio. They're going to change the city name. The history of Chili Dog Time, Ohio. Come on, baby.
Chillicothe.
On March 31st of 2015, William List Jr. was found dead in his cell at Ross Correctional Hey, Natalia says, with the $2 says, can you read in italics? Oh, no. I can't read Italian. Are you crazy? I can only do it if I have a garlic bread in my hand at that time. It's the only way to decipher. On March 31st of 2015, William List Jr. was found dead in his cell at Ross Correctional Institution in Chillicothe, Ohio, from a self-inflicted injury. He was 29 years old. You like fall because it's not winter yet. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of winter at all. It actually, October hit here and it literally, it just got cold. It just out of nowhere got cold. It went from being like nice summer weather to cold, and I'm just like, oh, I'm not ready for this, dudes. My dudes. Billy Amber with the sister Joel, you have the most gorgeous eyes. Thank you, Billy. Are you looking at them through my window? Make sure I didn't miss a dono up there, because I don't know if Billy's donation didn't show up till like way late because someone asked me if I saw it, but it just came up now. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, garlic bread. Yeah, I went to a tailgate yesterday, and it's a family friend, who's like her second mom pretty much, runs a really, really just decked out tailgate and she does all the catering for it and that kind of thing. And oh my God, it was all Italian food, which is, as they said, her wheelhouse. And I would say they were absolutely correct because it was just amazing, absolutely amazing food. Lasagna, meatball, garlic bread, tortellini, cookies and stuff. Diet Coke. Maybe a beer. It was really good. It was so delicious. Holly, you doing some makeup? Got the Halloween look going? Alrighty, right. We are on story number 4. Story number 4. It's still like mid-90s where you're at, but it's so sick of cool tomorrow. Honestly, I know people don't like the heat, but I kind of do. Get them thick slices of bread. Back in high school, just after the start of my junior year, me and some buddies got the Halloween spirit pretty heavy. We were obsessed with metal and horror movies. They were all we talked about. So throughout the month of October, we got into visiting creepy places and holding these like do-it-yourself parties. Literally a group of about 30 of us would carpool to some abandoned house one weekend or to some secluded forest the next, spending the days at school in between searching for more places like this in the area. Anyhow, given that we weren't necessarily believers in the supernatural, we had this cavalier nature about us when it came to potential hauntings. At some point, a friend of mine was several years older than me told me about how he and his friends would do similar things when they were young. His childhood home backed up to a huge farm, and he and his friends... Shit. Fucking hell. His childhood home backed up to a huge farm, and he and his friends would spend their days fishing or hanging out on this farm, so they were quite familiar with it. The owner, apparently a very religious man, a priest or pastor maybe, had owned the farm and a small house on the property. The story went that the owner had been locked up for murder and died in prison, leaving the farm to whomever, and it wasn't kept up. However, upon hearing the news of this man's demise, my friend told me that he and his friends had decided to go into this house. I guess the windows had been busted out as they managed to unlock a door and just walk in. He described them fooling around and trying to scare one another, but he had decided to walk up the stairs, and upon his reaching the second floor, he saw a coffin in the main open room. The way he had explained it to me was that he didn't know what it was immediately and sort of sauntered over to check it out, only to have the sudden flash of realization that this was an actual coffin in an abandoned house. I suppose he and his friends made a quick retreat from the house. Of course, he told this part of the story much better, peppering in more details about the man who owned the property that gave the story that mythical lore sort of feel. I remember being frightened by his delivery and sincerity, though it is quite likely he had rehearsed it before for occasions like this. This story had taken place 15 years or so previous to him telling me. I told one of my adventurous cohorts the story, and we thought it would be a good idea to investigate it, to see if the guy was actually telling the truth. So one Halloween, we packed his car, snacks and supplies, then set off to set the record straight. I knew where this person had lived, so we assumed we could simply walk behind his house, find the farm, then find the house. We had a grand plan to bring the whole group out on the weekend, but we weren't sure if we were being strung on a lie or if this place was still there, if it were true. Anyhow, after football practice one weekday, he and I drove out to the street my friends lived. Shit. Caitlin Frederick with the 2 says, "Are you a toes in the sand and beer in hand guy?" Well, that sounds nice. As it's slow, I always enjoy the sort of sensation of sitting on the edge of the beach as the water kind of covers your toes in sand. And it's funny because like that sensation of kind of being pulled out by the ocean, it still kind of sticks with you in a similar fashion to being on a cruise. And you kind of, I don't know if it's like sort of the natural draw of the ocean to continue to pull you towards it or something. Perhaps we were all mer people, mermaids and merladies, or mermen. And the ocean tries to bring us back to our natural habitat. With beer in hand, for sure. Jacob from California, what's good? What is good? Anyhow, after football practice one weekday, he and I drove out to the street my friend lived on. There was definitely a farm behind his and his entire street's homes. That part he had been telling the truth about. We decided to go ahead and sneak through someone's yard and onto the farm to see if the house was there. Once we made it through the manicured suburban yard and through the brush separating the farm, we were knee-deep in an overgrown field. We sort of hacked our way through a bit, and sure enough, as we made it to the edge of the hill, the house was only 100 or so yards away. We had made it that far, so we decided to go in and investigate. As we approached this house, there was a huge black bird perched on its roof. Once we were within 20 feet of the house, the bird flew away from the house and perched upon a tree adjacent to the house. Being a bit nervous, we began questioning why the bird had made such an odd move, but thought better of making. Being a bit nervous, we began questioning why the bird had made such an odd move, but thought better of making a big deal about it. Now, this house is the prototypical haunted house. It had that quaint historical look to it, with the broken windows, eerie shadows, and sort of ominous stature one associates with a haunted house. There was even a grave marker in the front yard. So again, we were increasingly nervous as we approached this house. The door was jammed shut, but the window had been completely removed, so we played rock, paper, scissors for who would climb through first. I had the luxury of going in second, but did so quickly as being on the porch by myself was just as unsettling. The inside of the house had literally not been touched. Besides weather damage, most everything was intact. There were pictures and decorations still up, with a bit of furniture remaining. We eventually became comfortable with being inside and began to snoop around. Of course, we were fearful of trekking upstairs, afraid to find something we didn't want to find. Alas, we squeamishly crept up the stairs to find an empty space. At this point, we became at ease with walking around the house, laughing off the ghost story mystique. As we looked through the main floor again, I noticed that there was a tiny door in the kitchen. It was about knee-high. Undauntedly, we flung it open only to reveal a dark stone stairwell that a person would literally have to crawl down. Its presence alone was terrifying, for some reason, but it had a landing about halfway down, with the stairs turning a different direction and out of our sight. However, perched on the landing, and partly concealed by the walls to the other part of the stairwell, was a large, rectangular wooden box. A coffin. Now, my friend and I weren't exactly small people, so I would imagine the sight of us, pale-faced, with a cartoonish hair-on-neck shocked expression trying to both squeeze out of a window at the same time would have been quite comical. Not to mention the both of us in a dead sprint heading away from this house through waist-high weeds. I still laugh thinking about both of us running like that. Anyhow, we turned to look back about halfway to the end of the farm just in time to see that massive black bird fly back from the tree and onto the house. We probably made double time from that point on. In hindsight, the whole thing was a bit odd, most especially the behavior of the bird. My friend and I joked about it possessing some sort of supernatural power, but looking back, I think that was just to mask how scared we really were. You guys talking about Discord? You guys need to join the Discord if you have not yet. Everyone is having a good old time there. You can post pictures of your selfies, of your face. You can chit-chat with people about nonsense. You can make internet friends in the voice chat. And maybe, just maybe, I will join the chat and awkwardly be quiet in the background as I edit a video or play Overwatch and scream to myself. It's a good time. Also, there's memes. There is memes. Post a link. Oh yeah, can anybody post the link to the Discord? New link is available. Oh, nice. Thanks, Nat. Actually, in the meantime, since Nat is actually an admin on my, wait. Weird. There you go. Nat is actually an admin on the Discord. Thank you so much, Nat, for becoming that. Her and Center. So, yeah, Jamie, that is true. I'm on there way too much. Yeah, you are now a mod, so. Aw, shit. The power's going to her head. She's going crazy. Hey, Drunk Princess with the 5 says you can also look through the mountains of selfies to find the mustache. Yeah, some people are having trouble with that, but basically if you want to see my face in the Discord #selfies channel, basically all you need to do is go to selfies, and then at the top of the page, you don't have to scroll up or anything. You literally can just go to the top of like the user interface, and there's a pin. It looks almost like a thumbtack, and that's the pinned messages, and you click that and it will show you all of the pinned messages, which are my selfies of my face. So you can imagine me dressed as a furry, and that's true. That's kind of like my true self, so that's what you're gonna get. Wow, we're at 550 viewers. Nice. That's actually the highest we've been at, I think, in a while, so thank you guys. Keep clicking that like button if you haven't already, and share the link out with friendos. Tell them come, watch, Let's Read, or listen to Let's Read. Mess up. And read stories about coffins. I didn't quite understand that story. So there was like a small door, and it was like a stone steps, and at the bottom of the stone steps was a coffin? Is that something that's common in houses, like a small door? I'm so hairy, they thought I was a furry. Brad Allen, Bradley boy, with the 5 buckaroonies. Brad, do you still want... Brad had some pictures of, with the Let's Read cup and Let's Read sweatshirt. I was curious, Brad, did you still want me to post thine picture on Instagram, maybe a series of pictures of stuff that you think are good to go? But yeah, just let me know. Thank you for the 5. Oh, Louise from New Mexico. What's New Mexico like? Is it warm, dry, arid? Any aliens? Johnny, that's a good dream to have. I think you could accomplish that. Also, we have chickens at my house. We bought some. Got 4 of them. My roommate got 4 of them. The one died of natural causes as they eventually made it out to their coop. There was eventually we woke up one morning recently to one that was killed by a hawk, and the hawk was still in there, and it killed the poor chicken, which sucked. And then it was a big hawk too, dude. That hawk, like when I saw it in the picture that my roommate initially took of it killing it, I was like, holy crap. And then, I went to go get coffee and I came back and the hawk was back in the enclosure to get another chicken. And I was thinking about recording it, but I didn't. And instead I decided to go defend this chicken. So I grabbed a broom and walked over, and like the hawk, instead of flying to the chicken, like ran over to the chicken, which looked really creepy because it was just like da, 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 and it jumped on top of the chicken, and I just like smacked the hawk on top of the head, and it like fluttered up, and there's sort of some mesh like fencing that goes over top of the cage or in top of the enclosure area for the chickens, and the hawk like flew up into that and got like tangled in it. And then it got like untangled, and I was totally like, oh shit, I'm about to get like clawed by this son of a bitch, because its wingspan was like, must have been like almost 6 feet or something insane. It was a huge bird, and like, and then just as it kept getting closer to either the chicken or myself, I just like jab it in the face, and then eventually after 2 or 3 of those, it did find like an opening where it initially came into the enclosure, and flew off into the wood, the tree line. Which was weird, because it just looked like it was just like massive, but it was intense. I felt as if though I felt like a caveman. The old. I think I've seen cave paintings of men fighting off big birds with broomsticks, and that's how. One day, someone actually saw one of these cavemen being pulled away by a hawk while hanging onto a broomstick, and he was just dangling from the broomstick. And that's initially, how witches came about. I didn't get pulled away or anything like that, but I presume that that's where, the writer of Harry Potter, probably got most of her inspiration. Caitlin Frederick with the 2 says, dude, same, except mine was a coyote that got in. Oh, that'd be interesting. Coyotes, I've never met one in real life before, though they are present in my area. Not so much directly in my town because it's pretty industrialized, I guess. But the coyotes out near my grandparents' farm and stuff definitely are a bit of a hazard. And I was curious how they sort of interact with people. Probably pretty skittish, I assume. Natalia with the 2 says, rants and reads. Heck yeah. That's going to be the name of the next stream. But yeah, so, and then it sucks because then my favorite chicken was this one who was like, he was black and she was black and had, white checkered marks all over it. So like it was like all like a checkered chicken. Checkered chicken, and she was really nice because she would like follow you and let you pet her, and she was smart enough to like figure out how to get out of the enclosure, so she'd go around the yard and like dig up worms or whatever she was doing, eating ticks hopefully. And one day it just didn't come back at night the one time, and we lived by like a main road, so I'm like, oh my god, somebody fucking probably hit my chicken or maybe stole it. I don't know. There's college kids all around, so maybe there's motivations for them to steal a chicken. I don't really think so. It seems like it'd be more of a pain in the butt than anything. But there's a lot of other things that could have eaten the chicken. I hear that skunks actually could prey on chickens. It never came back, and it hasn't been back, and now we went from having 4 chickens to only having 1 chicken left. And I don't even know that chicken's name. That's how sad it is. Do chickens eat fleas? That's a good question. Let's look it up. Google, do chickens eat fleas? Chickens are happy to eat grasshoppers, earwigs, mosquitoes, crickets, beetles, fly larvae, ticks, fleas, lawn grubs, aphid pill bugs, worms, and even more dangerous species such as fire ants and scorpions. That's cool. Chickens are pretty badass, actually. Honestly, I would suggest just get yourself a chicken. Phantom, you had 30 chickens. Man, that's a busy house. So funny though, the one chicken would just sit at our porch, the one that disappeared one day. Probably went to go get revenge on the hawk, I presume. That's the only thing the only logical answer I can come to. But he would sit outside of the porch window and just like mock Pradeep, which is really funny because Pradeep would just run down like in full predator mode, like I'll fucking kill you, I'll get you, I'll kill you, and the chicken would just like sitting there like stare at him and like, haha, you're stuck. And it was funny because like as I would open the door, like the chicken would run to try and get in the house, and Pradeep would run to try and get out the house. It's just funny. They both live two separate lifestyles. Mimi, yeah, you can go to your local Tractor Supply place, and I'm pretty sure they sell little baby chickens. And most jurisdictions allow for that. I know my area is being a college town, like there was some statute that just remained that you could have chickens and goats in my area, and then we never, we're kind of secluded in this back corner area, so no one really noticed anyways, other than the Pizza Hut drivers. They would kind of laugh because I would put in the notes for the delivery like, mind the chickens. One time I wrote in there like, beware the groundhog, and the guy actually was like mildly concerned, like, what's the deal with this groundhog? Like, is it dangerous? Like, is that rabies? What's up? All right, so this will be story number 5. Joel and the farm. It would be nice to have a farm. I think that would be a pleasant experience. But also probably a big pain in the ass because my grandparents had one, and they had a lot of stuff on their farm, though, so it's just like a lot of work, I feel like. Never a day without work. Years ago now, a few mates and me had managed to secure an invite to a Halloween house party. We didn't really know anyone else there, having only secured the invite because one of us worked with a girl whose student house it was. But since it was literally the only house party we could actually get into, we weren't arguing. A big thing about house parties is, the older you get, the harder it is to find a good one. Most people make their big house party mistake earlier in life and vow never ever to have one again. So the idea of one big hurrah before we started on that late 20s, early 30s quiet drinks bollocks was wildly appealing. We agreed to meet up in my flat for some pre-drinks and get changed into our various costumes. Fancy dress was a must, according to our mate's colleague. You have never seen such awful Halloween costumes in all your life. One lad just bought a wig and badly applied his mum's makeup, claiming to be Frankenfurter from Rocky Horror Picture Show. But without having the stones to rent the suspenders and corset, he just looked like he has an... But without having the stones to rent the suspenders and corset, he just looked like he has in the middle... Oh, he was, okay. But without having the stones to rent the suspenders and corset, he just looked like he was in the middle of a bad sex change. Another fella just threw on some old army cadet gear so he could be a soldier or whatever. But it had been a good couple of years since he'd last put it on, and he was considerably wider around the waist. So what I suppose was meant to be intimidating just ended up looking completely ridiculous. The winner, without a doubt, was our mate Danny, who'd actually pulled off a pretty convincing Michael Myers costume. So, for those that don't know, the mask used in the film Halloween is actually a Captain Kirk Star Trek mask that the prop guys roughed up a little. Yep, one of the most iconic images in horror comes from a crummy piece of sci-fi merch. Crazy, right? Anyway, Danny had actually managed to get his hands on a replica of said mask from his older brother, who was and is something of a horror freak. Then all he had to do was borrow a set of his dad's old mechanic overalls, get hold of a plastic butcher's knife, and he actually looked the real deal. So after we filled our bellies full of cheap supermarket lager, we make our move for the house party. The place the party was at was only like 5 to 10 minute walk from my flat, so we decided to walk around to soak up a bit of the Halloween atmosphere. I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe a few rooms full of people chatting away with a bit of music playing meekly in a back room. But the closer we got to the right street, the more we could hear this thumping bass sound drifting through the air. Imagine if that was the party we're going to, one of us joked. But it was the party. We're in the middle of this actual residential area. All of the other houses are settled in for the night, and there's this one house with its door wide open, people in costume wandering in and out. These colored lights, a smoke machine, even an actual bloody DJ set up in a bedroom with speakers all through the house. Enjoy it while it lasts, boys. I can guarantee you the police are on their way, right now, one of us said. Laughing, we piled into the house and started mingling with complete strangers. I won't deny it. They might have been posh kids from down south, but they knew how to throw a party. They actually laughed at us when they realized we'd brought our own beer, the host taking us into the back garden to show us these buckets full of beer and ice water. We were welcome to drink as much as we liked. In exchange, we put our room temperature cans into their fridge as a kind of communal offering. Yeah, we met a few snobs sneering with the "who invited you" look in our direction, but mostly people were lovely, especially when they found out we'd brought a special kind of tobacco with us. We drank long into the night somehow. The police didn't actually turn up for the first few hours. They must have been busy with the other more criminal stuff, but eventually turn up they did. But honestly, it was all part of the experience. It's not a true house party unless the busybodies show up. They were actually pretty cool about the whole thing. They didn't shout, they didn't stop, search, or arrest anyone. Sorry, my face started to itch. I got an itchy face. Oi, you got a license for that party? Potty. They were actually pretty cool about the whole thing, too. They didn't shout, they didn't stop, search, or arrest anyone. They just told us there had been a noise complaint and we had to clear out if we didn't leave there. They even laughed when someone in the crowd anonymously shouted, "Are you the male strippers we hired?" And this is where the story gets weird. So, throughout the party, our mate Danny had been kind of in character, walking silently and scarily into rooms, moving his head all slow as he looked around, just like Michael Myers. He'd then break into some weird dance and have people laughing, but it's important to know that he seemed to be enjoying playing the part. Anyway, we all managed to find each other in the throngs of people outside, despite being absolutely smashed. Only, we're not exactly ready to call it a night. So we decide to walk quite a bit of our way to visit the 24-hour off license to buy more booze. So, the whole way, Danny doesn't say a word. It might be worth mentioning that he isn't the most talkative when he sobers, so when he's angry, he pretty much says nothing at all. Just does his signature wheeze laugh when anything amusing happens. So just as we're outside the off-license, queuing by the little hatch to get served, I noticed something unusual about Danny's toy butcher knife. I swear he had a fake one at the start of the night, but right then I noticed the knife in his hand is bloody real. Before the fellow in the offie notices and calls the police thinking it's real, I slowly take the knife out of his hand, having a sort of mini freak-out that the bellend would be daft enough to steal a real knife from the house party. Right then, like something out of a movie, my phone starts going in my pocket. I pull it out and on the screen is the name Danny. Now, I'm still bladdered at this point, so my first thought is that Danny lost his phone or something, and someone is calling my number, the last person he'd call, to let them know where to find its... Oops. and someone is calling my number, the last person he'd call, to let them know where to safely find it. So I answer with something like, "Yeah, I know. My mate's an idiot. I hope he's not stolen anything else." But the voice on the other end is Danny. Definitely Danning. What the fuck? But the voice on the other end is Danny. Definitely Danny asking where we've gone. He passed out in the bathroom of that student's house and had only just been kicked out of. Cue an actual bloody freakout as I point the knife at this total bloody stranger and demand to know who they are. It all hits me at once. The guy had gloves on. Danny didn't. The strange guy had actual boots on. Danny just had black trainers. My mates have no idea what's going on. As far as they know, I'm on the verge of ending one of our closest mates' lives. But when they too realize what's going on, they too start freaking out on the fella, asking him what he was planning on doing with that knife, following us halfway around town like a proper creep. The lad ended up laying it down the street as we chased him. I've no idea what we were going to do, but we were angry and scared. So I'm sort of glad we eventually didn't actually end up catching up to him. Wait, fuck. Sorry, that sounded weird. So I'm sort of glad we didn't catch up to him. Oh yeah, no one's counted the mistakes. Maybe we're on mistake number 2. I forget. I don't think I made more than 2 mistakes thus far.
I could be wrong.
It is interesting how fast the years can blow by. Hey, we're at 600 people. Nice, guys. Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging. More shots for Nat. Nat, are you taking shots? Uh-oh. Every time I mess up. 4,900 shots now. Or 2. Tossin Hafiz says, "Dude, I'm a big fan." Thank you, Tossin. Welcome. Thanks, Mr. U Dreams. We got Mr. X Dreams and now Mr. U. Wolf's fan says, "Danny, how you feel?" I don't know. Who's Danny? I am not Danny. I've made more than 7 mistakes. Are you insane? Are you insane? It would be fun to do a drunk stream. After a certain amount of donos, I'd take a shot. I'd probably pass out or like have to leave the stream because I'd go throw up or something. It'd have to be something lighter. I'd probably be such an idiot, but it would be funny. Worth the lols, right? Would you rather be able to talk to animals or trees? Before you answer, consider how much trees have probably witnessed. Probably still animals. Well, actually, I don't know. Maybe animals, if you talk to them and they're like retarded, you know? They're like borderline idiots. Oh, well, it's a song by Lil Yachty. I've never heard it. I just remember that one, like, I did it, Actually, I don't know what that one was, but you can imagine. Oh, you're drinking White Claw. Well, there, you know what it is. There's no law with the claw. Parker, this is live. Welcome. You're interacting with me in real time, baby. You'd rather talk to animals because then you could talk to me. Yeah. I'm actually a furry that's having someone interpret my thoughts who actually has that power. Joel drunk, I feel like he'll rant even more than he does when sober. Believe me, I would go into Probably moronic rants. You guys would have to give me topics to talk about. Wouldn't hold back. I might get kind of loud too. What if I got loud? I'm on that loud. Alright, story number 6. Halloween is that certain time of year when we give ourselves over to ghosts, horror stories, and all kinds of macabre entertainment. But is it the case that such a spooky atmosphere pushes humans to express the darker side of their nature? Oh, shit. Fuck! My roommate's here opening the garage door, so it's picking up on the mic and it's loud. Post on my ASMR channel. Maybe one day. There's not a lot of motivation or time to do so. I'm sorry. Natalia, yeah, I don't know if that would be a wise decision in the more conventional area. Halloween. Welcome to Halloween. I really need to watch Nightmare Before Christmas. I haven't seen it. This is a great time of year. Some of the best stuff comes out. Brad Allen says, "Get swifty. Take a shit on the floor. Shit on the floor." Gummy bears. Well, you're going to get sweet, sweet, sultry tones. Sultry. But is it the case that such a spooky atmosphere pushes humans to express the darker side of their nature? Here's how 10 places in the United States deal with crime and antisocial behavior on the scariest day of the year. Police in the New York City borough of Queens, acting under the state's Operation Halloween Zero Tolerance program, check in on paroled offenders on Halloween, as well as the days before and after. As part of this surveillance program, convicted offenders and... I can't say the word sex offender, pedophiles, rape, but this person says that right in a row. God damn it, dude. It's like, I can't do that, or you just like immediately get demonetized. I said murder, I don't know how many times already in this shit, and the video probably will get demonetized because YouTube fucking sucks sometimes. Also, it's so stupid. It's just like, dude, how many controversial I mean, there's literally a show like CSI Miami or all those true crime shows on television with advertisements playing during daytime television. Like, YouTube's obsession with demonetizing people is so stupid to me because it's just like, who are they trying to impress? Advertisers do not give a shit. Natalia with the 2 says, "One sip at a time." Oh yeah. Thank you. As part of the surveillance program, those who have done acts convicted against children could have their homes checked to ensure that they don't have any X-rated material, which would violate the terms of their parole. Offenders are not allowed to wear any kind of masks or costumes. They're also forbidden to participate in any related Halloween activities and are prohibited from opening their doors to trick-or-treaters. There is certainly nothing more frightening than the thought of one of those men opening their door to innocent children. A state patrol source is quoted as saying, "There is also a curfew for all offenders from 3 p.m. in the afternoon of Halloween to 6 a.m. the following day. Offenders who don't follow these rules could have their parole revoked and be sent back to prison." The city of Orange in California. City of Orange? The city of Orange in California employs similar measures to protect children. It passed an ordinance that offenders must post signs on their doors on Halloween to keep trick-or-treaters from knocking there. Police required these offenders to place a sign on the door at least 12 by 24 inches in size, reading, "No candy or treats at this residence." Repercussions for failing to do so included a possible $1,000 fine or a year in jail. Police officers in Orlando have reported that around Halloween every year, an uptick in crime occurs by criminals wearing Halloween masks. This has included 2 men with guerrilla masks pistol whipping a man depositing money at a credit union, and 2 robbers wearing Halloween masks stabbing a man behind a restaurant. Of course, the decision to put on a Halloween mask or that scream disguise to commit a crime is not unique to Orlando alone, but wearing a mask could result in other consequences in the state. For example, in Florida, anyone committing a crime while wearing a mask can face ramped-up charges. As well, a Florida law prohibits anyone over the age of 16 from wearing a mask or hood in a public place or during a meeting except on Halloween. Yes, sad to say, this dates all the way back to the Klan and was enacted to prevent members from wearing hoods during their Klan marches. Perhaps even scarier is that this law has been used more than 200 times following its 1951 passage. It may seem curious that police in South Los Angeles say they see no spike in crime on Halloween, but that may be because they deploy extra units to help with the safety factor, as reports South Carolina Public Radio. However, by safety factor, they mean the tendency to... Peanut butter, ketchup, and jelly. Oh, God. Don't eat that. That would be funny to hand out peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, but then put ketchup in them. Now, that might be even worse than cyanide, honestly. However, by safety factor, they mean the tendency of trick-or-treaters to run out between moving or parked cars. However, a captain of another division, its 77th Street Division, did admit to concerns about Halloween spikes in crime. In fact, in 2011, that division had 34 incidences of crime on Halloween. 10 of those being burglaries. That captain told the radio station that that number was extraordinarily high. Georgetown in Washington, D.C. reported that incidences of burglary tend to be more common on Halloween or on Halloween weekends in Georgetown compared to other regular days and weekends of the year. That said, however, it is theft that has been most prevalent. Shiite. Hey, Jamie with the 20 big ones says, wait, you've never seen The Nightmare Before Christmas as your official stalker. I'm going to have to come inside and make you watch it with me, then rant to me about it. Oh, no, I've seen Nightmare Before Christmas, but yeah, every year it's kind of, it's definitely the transition. Or not the transition, sorry, the tradition. But thank you, Jamie, for the 20. Thank you. Yeah, I love that movie. Just so well done, such great atmosphere, and it's one of those ones that stick with you from a child all the way to adulthood. That and Marmaduke. Am I down to watch a movie in voice chat? Maybe not tonight, but definitely at some point. That would be fun. That said, however, it is theft that has been the most prevalent crime to occur on Halloween in Georgetown, more than double the incidence of the next reported crime of robbery. And when it comes to crimes committed on Halloween weekends, the occurrence of theft becomes even greater, nearly 4 times as frequent as the second most reported crime of theft from autos. It seems that the spooky season makes people much more willing to commit petty crime in the nation's capital. A North Korea news outlet reported that crimes occurring on Halloween have remained steady since 2007, when a spat of larcenies from motor vehicles and stolen bicycles reported on the UNC Charlotte campus. Campus Police Lieutenant Josh Huffman remarked that the campus also does see a slight increase in vandalism and alcohol-related offenses on Halloween, but for the most part of the day is like any other in terms of crime on campus. However, it is also worth remembering a lesser-known law that exists in North Carolina, General Statute 1421.7, that prohibits anyone over the age of 16 from wearing a mask in public. Although crime occurring on Halloween dropped 8% from 2010 to 2011, theft, vandalism, and simple assault have remained the most frequently occurring crimes in Temple, Arizona. Wait, is it Tempe? Temple or Temple? Shit. Temple? I don't know how to say it. Tempe? Tempe, Arizona?
Tempe.
Tempe. TP. Natalia, how would you watch the new Joker movie? You got some sort of bootleg version? Although crime occurring on Halloween dropped 8% from 2010 to 2011, theft, vandalism, and simple assault have remained the most frequently occurring crimes in Tempe, Arizona on Halloween. In fact, in 2011, theft accounted for 20.7% of crime in the city, according to the East Valley Tribune. In 2010, simple assault topped the list, accounting for 19.1% of all crimes. Of course, alcohol-related incidents are also common, particularly in the city's Mill Street area near the Arizona State University campus, and fights that occur at these can lead to charges such as simple assault. Halloween parties can generate a lot of different things. Lieutenant Jeffrey Glover of the Tempe Police Department said, "We have a lot of calls for service, so more officers..." "We have a lot of calls for service, so more officers are responding to calls at that time of hour. Also, you have the drinking that goes on. Sometimes people don't make the best decisions." Even though Halloween fell on a Saturday in 2009, it may be cold weather that prevented its crime numbers from reaching anything out of the ordinary for the holiday in Blacksburg. Since it was cold and rainy on Saturday night, there wasn't a lot of people hanging out outside, said Sergeant Nathan Odell of the Blacksburg Police. "One of the things you'll see when it's cold is that between the peak hours, which are between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., people aren't usually outside. That actually helps with the crime itself." In fact, in the city that year, there were only 12 arrests made on Halloween, but almost 100 calls received by dispatch. Of those, most were related to noise complaints or simply nervous people reporting on otherwise normal behavior. On the Virginia Tech campus, 6 arrests were made related to alcohol and drug offenses. However, it may be other events on campus that result in higher number of arrests and citations. For example, a football game occurring the same week as Halloween that year led to the arrests numbers more than 6 times than that for the holiday. That sounded fucking strange. Fuck. This is kind of boring, actually, this, statistics shit. I don't know why. I thought that they were gonna, it was leading into, I mean, it's not bad, it's interesting, I just kind of did not think this through. Death by tickles. Death by snoo snoo. You just blasted some music to wake up your family. Hell yeah. Wakey wakey, mommy and Jakey. For example, a football game occurring the same week as Halloween that year led to arrest numbers more than 6 times that than for the holiday. 39 taken into custody, and most for alcohol-related offenses. They take a different, friendlier approach to discouraging crime in the month of October in the Southern California town of Lompoc. This approach involves Halloween flocked flamingo lawn ornaments appearing in people's front yards, according to the Lompoc Record. Yes, that means birdie lawn ornaments decked out for Halloween. The event supports the Lompoc Valley Police Activities League, which provides programming for area youth, with the idea of helping them stay out of trouble. People can request an anonymous flocking at a charge of $25 or ask for removal for a small fee. They can also purchase insurance to protect them from a flocking. All raised money goes to Lompoc's Police Activities League organization, which was founded in 1998 and provides athletic, educational, and recreational activities to build bonds between teen and law enforcement officers. So, maybe it is the case that certain kinds of offenses are more frequent around Halloween, but it is also the case that our own fears and perceptions of danger increase around the spooky season. I mean, that wasn't terrible, but it was just I don't know. I'll probably leave that as the second to last story, because I feel like if I ended on that, people will be like, what the fuck? That was stupid. I mean, I don't know. What did you guys think about that? Like, reading about how people dealt with Halloween antics and the actual prevalence of crime around that time of year on that particular day. You digging out some decorations down this end of the world? All we know about Halloween comes from TV and movies. Oh, yeah. I'd say which places would celebrate it? You're going to be Foxy? Foxy from Five Nights at Freddy's? On Halloween night 2002, 21-year-old Chris Jenkins, a University of Minnesota student, went to celebrate the spookiest night of the year down at the Lone Tree Bar and Grill with his girlfriend, Ashley Rice, and 3 other friends. Shortly after midnight, Chris was separated from his friends and ejected from the bar. Fuck, dude. Fucking throat. Sorry, dudes. God damn it. I don't know what. Yeah, I've seen It Follows. It is funny. Yeah, like a spirit STD. That's funny. It's, I guess, like a parallel for AIDS or HIV or whatever. Shortly after midnight, Chris was separated from his friends and ejected from the bar. According to reports later given to police, a drink was accidentally spilled on his pants, and the security supervisor assumed that Chris was so intoxicated that he urinated himself. After Chris was removed, the security guard in question was given instructions not to let him back inside. Unfortunately for Chris, since his Native American Halloween costume had no pockets, he had asked Ashley to keep his wallet, keys, and cell phone in her purse for him, and his coat was left inside the bar on what turned out to be a chilly 20-degree night. Since he was not the designated driver, Chris was unable to get a ride home and could not contact his friends inside the bar. He was last seen headed away from the bar on foot, but did not return to his residence and was eventually reported missing. On February 27th the following year, Chris Jenkins' bloated, decaying corpse was found floating beneath a bridge on the Mississippi River. He was still dressed in his Halloween costume and had gotten wedged in the branches of a large tree located next to the upper St. Anthony Falls Dam. The medical examiner found no signs of foul play on Chris's body, so the official cause of death was listed as drowning. Despite the police ruling it a death by misadventure, his family launched their own independent investigation and discovered a number of odd discrepancies. The Jenkins family hired a private detective, Chuck Loesch, to further investigate their son's disappearance. When Loesch questioned staff at the Lone Tree Bar and Grill, they maintained that Chris left the bar on his own, and the venue's owner eventually issued a gag order instructing employees not to speak to anyone without an attorney. Loesch also contacted the Federal Reserve Bank, who happened to be the owners of the 2 CCTV cameras that had a good view of the Hennepin Avenue Bridge. Hennepin, shit, sorry. Loesch also contacted the Federal Reserve Bank, who happened to be the owners of the 2 CCTV cameras that had a good view of the Hennepin Avenue Bridge. The bridge was on the route that Jenkins was likeliest to have taken, but when the bank checked the surveillance footage from the earlier morning hours of November 1st, there was no sign of him. Loesch's investigation also led him to multiple witnesses who each independently recalled a fight that had occurred in front of a local pizza place. Though it was unclear if the victim was Chris, a gang of around 9 or 10 people had violently attacked another outside of the restaurant. Mike Casey, an off-duty police officer, was present in the area on the night of Jenkins' disappearance. He was moonlighting as a security guard for the nearby Hennepin Center for the Arts and was introduced to Jenkins by his girlfriend, Ashley Rice. Ashley happened to work at the Lone Tree Bar and Grill and was familiar with Casey, well enough that she had borrowed pieces of his uniform to complete her cliched sexy cop costume. There are rumors that Casey had in fact masterminded Jenkins' removal from the bar as a way to get to Ashley, given that he actually gave her a ride home later that night when her shift finished. The Minneapolis Police Department never formally questioned Casey, but stated that he's a married man with children, and we don't want to break up a family.
Pizza. Somebody say pizza?
Hungry but don't know what to eat. Isn't it nice that we have so much choices here? We get to choose what we eat. It's pretty cool. The Minneapolis... He's a married man with children. We don't want to break up a family. A statement indeed. It says a damning statement. Last year, damning report of the industry. Extremely critical and incriminating. There we go, nice. Dude, thank God for the internet and its infinite knowledge of everything. Imagine if back in the day you literally were a walking Google. You'd be the most powerful man of all time. He's a married man with children. We don't want to break up a family. An incriminating statement, indeed. The Jenkins family went as far as hiring 2 separate groups of bloodhound trackers to trace Chris's scent from the Lone Tree Bar across the street to an underground parking garage. The scent trail led to parking stalls that one of the bar's bouncers was reportedly parked in on Halloween night. A bloodhound produced a mild hit for Chris's scent on this person's vehicle. Droplets of blood residue, a piece of red string, and red feather fragments which possibly belonged to the headband of Jenkins' costume were also found in the garage. Jenkins' blood alcohol was only 0.12%, so he could not have been particularly drunk, but coroners noted that traces of GHB were found in Chris's system. However, since GHB is a substance which is produced by the body naturally, this did not necessarily mean Chris was drugged. Forensic pathologist Dr. Michael Baden took issue with Jenkins' body being found with his arms crossed in front of him. Drowning victims who accidentally fall into water are almost always found face down with their arms outwards towards their sides and their clothing disheveled. Yet Jenkins' shirt was tucked into his drawstring pants and his oversized slip-on moccasins were still on his feet. This led to speculation that Chris was already dead when he was placed in the river. Hydrologists who studied the Mississippi River were highly skeptical that Chris's body could have been in the water for as long as 4 months without ever being seen, as the river did not freeze over until January 2003. What's more, the area beneath the 3rd Avenue Bridge was searched in the weeks following his disappearance, with no sign of him. A daytime thawing occurred on February 27th, the day Chris was found, so he possibly floated from another location before his body got wedged in the trees. Jenkins' family found it extremely unusual that there was no bruising on his body. Their son was an enthusiastic lacrosse player, a goalie in fact, who often came home from practice with huge purple and yellow patches on his legs and forearms. Since these bruises were not present, his parents believed he may have been alive for a couple of days after he went missing, allowing enough time for his bruises to heal. 3 years later, in 2006, the Jenkins family met with Minneapolis. Castle Reviews with the 5 buckaroonies. Thank you, Castle Reviews, and welcome. Welcome. Though this is the last story of the night, I'm sorry. Hopefully you're not just getting here, but happy to have you. What if he wears socks and flippy floppies? Oh, that's a good point. Where do we go from there? It is socks and flippy floppy season for sure. 3 years later, in 2006, the Jenkins family met with Minneapolis Police Chief Tim Dolan, who had decided to reopen the investigation based on the newly attained evidence. Chris's death was eventually reclassified as a homicide, and Chief Dolan held a press conference to issue a formal apology to the Jenkins family. Years later, Dolan would state that he estimated Jenkins' death was 50% chance of homicide, 30% chance of accidental death, and 20% chance of ending his own life. Once the case of Jenkins' death was reopened, an informant told authorities he had witnessed somebody throw Chris's body off the Hennepin Avenue Bridge into the Mississippi River. But there was skepticism about this story since Chris had no broken bones or injuries, and it would not have been possible to toss him over the bridge's high safety railing without his body hitting a steel support beam and vertical metal cables on the way down. In July 2007, the Hennepin County District Attorney's Office announced that they had been approached about filing charges against a suspect for Chris's murder, but declined to do so. The suspect in question was one Jeremy Alford, who was serving a life sentence for the brutal murder of a man by the name of Douglas Miller. Alford admitted to being a regular drinker down at the Lone Tree Bar and Grill around the time of 2002. Chris's case had also been connected to the infamous Smiley Face Killer, as his death took place around the same time that many college-aged men in the Midwest were discovered dead. Oh, fuck. Chris's case also had been connected to the infamous Smiley Face Killer, as his death took place around the same time that many college-aged men in the Midwest were discovered dead in bodies of water after a night of drinking. But unlike many of the other cited cases, fucking shit. Thirsty stream, everybody's parched. But unlike many of the other cited cases, no smiley face But unlike many of the other cited cases, no smiley face graffiti has ever been discovered in relation to Chris's death. Boom, baby. Sorry, we're all out of candy, guys. Better luck next year. We did it, guys. We done did it. That was actually pretty quick. 2 hours, 17 minutes of story reading. Now we do the outro. Guys, what should we say as the outro? Something Halloween related, perhaps. Thanks so much, friends. And remember, and that's where you guys come in. I need your creativity. How's my inhale so perfect? I don't know. I've been working on it for years. Ooh, yeah. Candyman, Candyman. He's got some candy in his van. Climb inside. Feel his hand. Tie you up. Turn you into jam. Look out. Here comes the Candyman. Pumpkin Spice Xanax. Anybody got any of that? Pumpkin Spice Chloroform. You were waiting for a whistling booger. That's funny. Oh, Natalia toot the $2 says Ranson reads with Candyman. Candyman, let's read. I hope I'm not as bad as Candyman. Candyman. I'm always watching you sleep. That's a nice one. Stay up with Thurl Candleman. Candleman. Can I just please sing at the end? I could, I guess. Candyman, Candyman, Candyman is coming. Hand. Has a limp. Has a tiny hand. Yeah, I'll just say that. I'm just going to say that. Hey friends, thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe and click that notification bell to be alerted of all future narrations. If you got a story, be sure to submit them to my subreddit, Let's Read Official, and give and receive feedback from the community, and maybe even hear your story featured on the next video. And join my Discord to interact with me and other listeners directly. And if you want to support me even more, grab early access to all future narrations for just $1 a month on Patreon, and maybe even pick up some Let's Read merch on Spreadshirt. And check out the Let's Read podcast, where you can hear all these stories in long compilation form and save huge on data, located on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Links in the bio. Thanks so much, friends, and remember, the candy man, he's got some tiny hands. Fuck it, dude. That's what we're saying. I don't even care. Fuck it, dude. Yeah, thanks, Natalie, for linking the Discord there. Well, guys, I'm going to go eat a copious amount of food that I shouldn't. I don't know, maybe you could join me and do the same. You only live once, but take care of yourself, too. But, hey, Gothic, what's up? Gothic, I think your subscription, your membership renewed here today, so thank you for that. Just wanted to remind you in case you wanted to cancel it. Tiny hands and candied yams. Hey, Crystal, shit. Dang, Crystal shit. That's so weird that, yeah, YouTube does not tell everyone about the stream. And, it's so silly. It's so silly. But yeah, guys. Yeah, is Pradeep? Pradeep's not in here right now. He's probably out doing his thing with the blanket on the couch. They kind of have a relationship going on right now. It's complicated, but I support him in all of his decisions. Lila, don't you dare. But yeah, I love you guys. Seriously, another great stream in the books. Thank you guys for your generosity tonight and your support. I might grab some food and come jump in the Discord to quietly listen to you guys rant for a little while. And, yeah. Join up in that if you'd like. And this video is legit coming out tomorrow. We're just getting right to it for Halloween. Actually, I believe we'll have at least 2 volumes of Halloween stories because we got a inundation of Halloween-related content. So that'll be pretty dope. Maybe I'll separate them by like 2 weeks or something. I don't know. Maybe even just 1 week. Whatever. All right. Peace out, fam jam. Horror fam. This ain't no scam. Prepare to get slammed. Because my name is the Candy Man. Goodbye. DB Gaming, thank you.